Hi guys, today on the reefer we're gonna get these fish back in the 93-gallon aquarium. So these guys have been in this tank for I think 91 days, and you might be thinking, why 91 days? Because a proper fallow period would only be 76 days, and that's because after I caught these guys and got them into this tank, about 2 weeks after that date I went out and I got more SPS frags. And I stuck them directly into the 93-gallon. So at this point, those SPS frags have been in the tank for 11 weeks, so 77 days. So I'm pretty sure all the fallow period has been done, and we're gonna get these fish back in there. So hold on to your seats. When we come back, it's gonna be a tank shot, and you're gonna see the fish go in there one by one. Alright guys, the first fish I'm putting back in is my black and white ocellaris. This is my longest living fish in the saltwater hobby, and I've had him for roughly about 1 year and 3 months. But he's a tough guy. He's survived a lot of tank wipes just through luck, because he happened to be in a small tank, the tank that I'm currently using as a coral quarantine tank. And there is the blue throat trigger. I've only had this blue throat since sometime in August, so I've had him about 4 months, and he spent 3 of those months in quarantine. So really rough start for this guy, but hopefully he will enjoy the rest of his time in this tank. And I think what is next is going to be the yellow eye kole tang. Now what I'm doing with these guys is, there he is. So this guy I bought from a LFS, and he was actually a surrender. So somebody shutting down their tank actually gave them to the LFS. And I will say this, if you guys ever have a choice between wild caught and one that's already used to captivity, get the one that's used to captivity. Because the moment I put him in my tank the first time, like within the first 1 or 2 hours, he was already out and swimming about, ready to eat. I had no issues with feeding him. And those are some of the issues that you're gonna have with a wild caught fish. So if you ever have the option of a hobbyist selling you a fish, I would take that one as opposed to one that is wild caught from an LFS. And here's the final fish, guys. So this is my flame hawkfish. He's from Hawaii, and he is the second longest inhabitant that I have. I can't remember how long I've actually had him. Probably about a year as well. Hey guys, the fish have been back in the tank for about 3 hours, and they're showing signs of hunger. So I'm gonna feed them. And this is the first time they've had any frozen food for about 3 months. So I'm excited to make sure they get a good meal in. Without further ado, I'm gonna get the Mysis shrimp in there, so stay tuned. Here I'm off to get the Mysis shrimp, which I defrosted in a bit of tank water. The brand of Mysis I use is PE Mysis. The reason being, it's readily available. It seems to be widely considered to be the best Mysis shrimp brand. An interesting fact, PE Mysis is actually harvested from a lake called Okanagan Lake. And this lake happens to sit beside the town that I live in. So I'm from a town called Penticton. It's located in British Columbia in Canada. And yeah, Okanagan Lake is a huge lake. So here I've put the shrimp in, and yeah, you can see the Probably the most aggressive eater is the blue throat trigger. And there he goes. He's eating away. I wanted to mention maybe a few things here. I reintroduced 4 fish into this tank. When I had originally set up the quarantine, I actually had 6 fish. If you look on some of my earlier videos, I had 2 wrasses. And one of the things I didn't know was that blue throat triggers, they will go after smaller fish. So when everyone was moved to this 20-gallon, it was much smaller, and although there were hiding spots, I think the trigger actually went after the 2 wrasses. So unfortunately, I wasn't really aware that that could happen, and I did find one of them with a big bite mark on its back, which is really unfortunate. So for those of you who are thinking of getting one, just be aware that they can go after smaller fish. One of the interesting things about PE Mysis is what you can do is you can rinse it to get a lot of the oily residue off the mysis. Because I don't really have that many fish in this tank for nutrition sake and trying to keep some nutrients in the tank, I just poured the entire thing into the tank. And one of the side effects is that it kind of makes the skimmer go crazy. So what you're going to see on the screen is you're going to start noticing a lot of microbubbles. This cleared up the following day. So by the next day, all the microbubbles were gone. And everyone looks pretty happy. When I look closer, some of the coral, some of the LPS actually caught some of this mysis. So that was a good feeding for them. I ended up feeding them again reefroids the following day because I only feed every 5 days, which may be a bit less than what other people would suggest. However, whenever you're feeding a coral, you want to make sure that you give them enough time to process the food. So if you feed them too quickly, they may not have enough time to get rid of the food that they already have, and that could actually kill them. So just be careful about that. You can kind of see there's one big cave in this whole entire rock structure. Like I do have a few tunnels, but the trigger and the tang love the cave. And every time the trigger tries to go into the cave, the tang will actually start sideswiping it because it's his cave. And by this point, I think most of the mysis has already been consumed. That's it, guys. If you've made it up to this point, thank you so much for watching. And I'd like you to leave a comment below letting me know what fish you think I should get next for this tank. I'm currently in the process of emptying the quarantine tank and refilling it with fresh salt water and getting it ready for the next batch of fish. Just FYI, I'm currently playing with the idea of either a yellow tang or some leertail anthias or some blue-green chromis, or a mixture of the 3. But just keep in mind that it has to be a reef-safe fish. And that's it. Thumbs up if you liked it, subs if you loved it, and I'll see you guys next time.